Cool. So welcome to another conversation. So this one I'm actually been really looking forward to because if I am sure that everyone watching this has seen the first episode that has just come out of actually hopefully I'm saying it right. Am I saying it correctly? Hankikanto or how do you Hankikanto?
Fantastic.
Okay,
Yes.
cool, nice. I'm basically Finnish now, so I think that's how it works. So yeah, I'm sure everyone has seen the first episode of Hankikanto, and I wanted to. We actually organized this before the first episode came out because I knew it was going to be good anyway, and I wanted to do an interview with both Amanda and Matti. But then so we're recording this on a Friday, and the first episode came out on Wednesday, I think it was. And it is, I think, an hour and 40 minutes of intense antinatalist deep dive surrounding Matti, but I won't go too much into it now because we're gonna, the whole interview is going to be about it. But before we go head into the actual substance, do you both quickly want to introduce yourselves however you want to? Maybe just a bit of background, and actually maybe how you came into contact with each other as well. So Amanda, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'm Amanda Sukenick. I used to have a channel called Forever Wolf Films on YouTube. I've been making antinatalist art and pieces of activism or whatnot for 12 years, and I'm the host of the Exploring Antinatalism podcast. I'm the director of the Ephelist, the movie, and this is my third time on Lawrence's channel, so thank you for having both Matti and I on, and me back. And yeah, I am the co-creator of Mechanized, along with Matti here, and Hankikanto. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it today.
And Matti?
My name is Matti Häyry. I'm an antinatalist philosopher. Well, that was a line from the show. I have apparently been an antinatalist philosopher for 40 years, but it took Amanda a year ago to tell me that I am. So that makes our work together interesting, because we are learning things about me that no one ever wanted to know about me. I'm sure. Anyways, I live in Finland, in Helsinki, and I for my sins I'm a professor of philosophy of management in the Aalto University School of Business, and that's me.
And just quickly, how I think I maybe know the story, but how did you two actually come into contact with each other? Did was it just a complete random accident, or did one of you contact the other, or how did you first get in contact?
So I can tell the backstory now if you want me to. So the backstory is that I had invited Matti to be my guest on the Exploring Antinatalism podcast. That was in late May of 2022. At the time, I didn't really know very much about him. There was virtually no discussion of his work anywhere in antinatal spaces on the internet before this. I mean, Reddit, Facebook. I mean, really, very, very little. There was maybe 3 other antinatalists that were somewhat familiar that I had spoken to. I was mostly familiar with Matti through what David Wasserman had written about him in his half of the book, Debating Procreation. And other than that, I had read a rational Cure for Pre-Reproductive Stress Syndrome, and pictures of Matti in his orchid shirt had left an impression on me. So anyway, I contacted him, not expecting to ever hear back. He wrote back immediately, saying not impossible to the suggestion of doing an interview. And from there, he began this like amazing excavation of so many of his older works, revealing to me, but I think to, himself as well, like just how much antinatalism he had really produced over the last, nearly 40 years. And I, in turn, busied myself with my own research and writing really a quite insane number of questions. It didn't take long for either of us to realize that we really had so much to talk about. There was really all of his work, to be examined. But there was also like all of antinatalism to sift through, a world that he had very much helped to build, but knew very little about, as a community and as a, sort of the state of contemporary antinatalism at that point. I, of course, had fallen into the antinatal abyss a long time ago,
Mm.
but Matti was only just beginning to realize that like he had owned real estate there for a long time. So we spent a very significant portion of that summer talking, researching, and preparing for what would eventually grow into the Exploring Antinatalism podcast, episode 65, which is the best episode of the entire show. There's lots of episodes I'm very proud of, but it is truly the best episode of the whole series. What I began to see during that process was a completely unexplored and totally unknown chapter of antinatalist history, a story that had begun in the mid 80s, earlier, really, than nearly any other academic antinatalist philosopher's contribution. And that also covered and included what I see as like the holy trinity of ethical subjects: animal rights, euthanasia, and anti-procreation. And in addition to that, there was all of this like incredible music, a contribution to antinatalist art, also that was also of extreme importance. So I realized that it wasn't just me that had struck gold. It was clear to me that Matti's voice and his many contributions was something that antinatalism itself, had been missing and sorely needed. And so it was at this point that my excitement went through the roof. On August 10th, and I know that was the date because I was on the streets of Chicago that day holding up antinatalist signs, would stop having kids when they were here. Matti had just sent me his first round of answers to my questions for number 65, and then I received a message from him later that day asking if I wanted to do a sequel. And so I accepted without hesitation, and we basically haven't stopped since. So Hankikanto began as a sequel, and it was originally just going to be another episode of the Exploring Antinatalism podcast. And I might be forgetting something, but Matti will have to let me know.
Yeah.
I think that what you're saying is absolutely correct about the you mentioned August the 10th, didn't you, for the sequel thing? So yes, that's on that fateful day. I must have been so high from completing your book length questionnaire that I was loose talking about sequels, and I thought that I could take on the world. But so that must be the reason for my careless question about those sequels. Funny how things pan out sometimes. I usually try to avoid work if I can, but not that I'm complaining this time. No, wouldn't have it any other way. But the very beginning, the first message that you sent to me, I just said that I didn't know about my antinatalism before you told me that I'm an antinatalist philosopher. And we have to change that story now because there's this detail. Just write it down, and in the book it goes. I mean, we both know that I said not impossible, but I also said not now. And I said not now because I had just had a research project bid rejected by the Academy of Finland on the topic of tada, antinatalism. So I must have at least a year before done something about it. I mean, have an inkling of an idea that I must be doing this. So Lawrence, you are helping us to tell the truth here, and we are getting the story straight. We are saying it in so many places now, though. Well, that's it.
And actually, but just because I kind of skipped ahead in our questions, so before we do the deep dive into Hankikanto, I just want to do a bit more of sort of well, not backstory, but learning a bit about both of your sort of backstories, I guess is the right word. So you've already like referenced Amanda, you've already said about you did like the Ethelist and some of the other art projects you've done, and you've referenced Matti's rock opera. Can you both just maybe Amanda, you've already answered this question, but if you have anything else to chuck in, then by all means do. But like obviously you're both obviously very creative people. Are you able to both give sort of like a brief overview of your creative sort of histories and what sort of projects you've worked on before? And actually, they don't just necessarily have to be antinatalist. If you've done anything else that's creative that's been on another subject, so maybe Matti, are you able to go first this time?
Yeah. Well, let me see. Should I think I should start with music because it's mostly music for me,
Mm.
the creative side. So, in 1969, I performed Holy Night, Silent Night on grand piano in the junior high school's Christmas do. Am I going too far back in history? There is a connection. Anyway, fast forward a few years, and in 1974, I wrote my first song.
Mm.
It was released only 42 years later in my rock opera Orchid. In 1975, I played guitar in an impromptu rock band at the non-commissioned officers' school's half-course party in the Finnish military. Again, there is a connection, and I'll come back to it. In 1978, in military academy, I started writing more songs and kept doing that over the years. And some of the songs ended up in my first rock opera, Playing God, released in 2013, and others in my second rock opera, Orchid, released in 2016. And yet others are waiting for my forthcoming rock operas, which are under construction. In the live performances of Playing God, I guess play acting is creative. I played the part of Mr. Cunningham, or Mr. C, who is an evil science peddler. And the show peaked in New York City at the Cape Playhouse of Broadway in 2015. And now for the connections. In 1975, in the band, one of the songs that we played was by Fleetwood Mac. It was called Oh Well Part 1, and my rip-off or take on its melodic theme is audible in After Battle Calm, a song in Orchid. And in my next rock opera, Jay and I will borrow the feel of the Christmas Carol a bit in a number called, of course, Silent Night. So my musical creativity, as you can see from these examples, has long fuses, which is a polite way of saying that I'm really, really slow. Well, that's the music, I think. On the literary side, I have also written about 600 articles, books, columns, blogs, you name it, I've written it. But that's not really creative. That's just my job as a philosopher. Amanda is more creative, so what's that story?
You're very, very creative. So yes, thanks, Matti. And people will be able to see many rare photographic archival examples of a lot of the things Matti just mentioned from his past in the next two upcoming episodes of Hankikanto. So look forward to that. As for me, I mean, I've been making art in various forms, like just about my entire life. My dad was an oil painter and a professional advertiser. So some of my earliest memories are of painting with him in his studio. And, you know, it's probably not a great idea to put your 1-year-old next to huge tanks of turpentine, but you know, whatever. So some of my earliest memories of doing that and of running around like the ad agencies that he worked and, you know, trying desperately and failing miserably to draw like the master draftsman that he works with. So yeah, I guess I'm primarily a sculptor and a video artist, though I do have a BFA and an MFA in print media from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. So I guess like I'm officially a printmaker, mostly etchings. Not that I've done any of that in years. I've worked quite a bit in independent film production, but honestly, like most of my past has just been spent drawing monsters with huge penises and dressing up as Dragon Ball Z characters for YouTube and screaming into a camera about action figures. Good times. But then along came antinatalism, and that's like pretty much been the subject that has obsessed my work for the last 12 or so years. So in that vein, I've made all kinds of art around the idea, drawings, etchings, sculptures, stupid songs, like thousands of videos, the movie The ExAN, podcasts, so many podcasts at this point, really everything except for dance. I mean, you know, my job as an antinatalist is to prevent harm after all, so I don't do any dancing. But yeah, I can't stop, won't stop. I love making antinatalist art.
Yeah, and actually, talking of the ExAN, like anyone who has seen the first episode of Hankikanto, I sort of saw some parallels with some of the art styles. Right, there's sort of like you use the. I'm not very arty, so I don't know the proper terms, but like the method of paper cutouts. and
Yeah.
using so I'm assuming, yeah, exactly. So there we go. We've got an well, I was going to say exclusive there. It's not exclusive because it's in the episode, but nice. Well, okay, cool. Well, let's just get straight into Hankikanto then. I say straight into after 15 minutes, but whatever. So first of all, you do explain this in the episode, but just for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, Matti, are you able to just explain what does the word mean and why did you choose that as the name for the series?
Good for you separating the two questions, because this what does Hankikanto mean has at least two answers: what the word means and what the name of the show means. The word is Finnish and it refers to a certain state of snow. You can walk on several feet of snow during Hankikanto and not fall in, because the upper layer is frozen. It's like walking on ice in a lake. In the name of the show, we recognize a further feature of Hankikanto, namely that it's very often deceptive. If you trust it too much and if you walk too far or too briskly, sooner or later there will be a thinner patch. The upper layer breaks under your weight and you fall in. In our case, into life's natal abyss, or antinatalism theoretical abyss. There's a stroke between anti and natal to mark that difference. So that's what Hankikanto means.
Mm. And I'm assuming, Amanda, that you had no idea this word even existed
Nope.
before. Yeah.
It is one of two words that I know so far in Finnish. The other one is
Mm.
kuva, right, which means image. And I mean, I'm probably saying it completely wrong, so my
Yeah.
apologies. But yeah, I don't have much to add to that other than that when I was attempting to create the logo for the show, I made the remarkable discovery in noticing that the word Hankikanto has the letters AN together, not once but twice. So perfect for a show starring two antinatalists, and yeah, couldn't be better, really. So I have exploited that to the best of my ability ever since.
Yeah. And actually, whilst we're on the subject of the Finnish language, so I actually used to live with a Finnish girl, and she taught me a tiny bit of Finnish that I'm about to butcher now. So please, all Finns watching, cover your ears right now. So I think it is from memory. Minä rakastan sinua, larski pese, which I think means I love you, fat ass. If
Does
I
it,
said it
Minä
Matti?
rakastan
correctly, yeah.
Minä rakastan sinua is yes, it's perfect. You are saying it perfectly.
Nice.
Well done.
I'm not sure why she taught me that. Like out of the whole Finnish language, I'm not sure why that phrase, but oh well. So yeah, okay. So we've already talked about sort of where the idea for the series came from. I think you were saying that you sort of came across each other, and then you did the episode of the Exploring Antinatalism podcast first, and then you were sort of both so inspired and realized that there was so much more content to do here, or to cut so much more ground to cover. And also, it's sort of like a documenting of Matti's fall into the antenatal abyss, as you say, sort of like going
Yeah.
down the rabbit hole, as it's sort of popularly known, from Alice in Wonderland, I think that came from. So what was the process like, or what has the process been like of creating the series so far? And this can be anything from the creative process of actually physically making the cutouts to how did you come up with the storyboard, all of this sort of stuff. So I don't know which one of you wants to go first with that.
Amanda goes first because cuttings have been mentioned.
Okay, yeah. Well, storyboard, that would be the smart way of doing things. I don't think I've ever done a storyboard in my whole life, which is probably something I should start doing from now on. But yeah, I mean, the whole process has really been a dream come true, honestly. I mean, the best collaboration of my life. I've had the great fortune of several excellent collaborations with other antinatalists over the years. In Mendham, of course, and I have been extremely productive together between our show Vlogger Dome and our movie The Ephalist, among other projects. And you and I, Lawrence, I don't think people realize realize just how much you and I have worked together, which
Yeah.
has also been wonderful. So I've been very, very lucky in the collaborations that I've had. But anyway, once we had decided that we wanted to continue working together by creating a sequel, I spent, I think, all of October continuing to do this like massive deep dive of Matti's work, and I prepared was what at the time was an enormous 4-part series.
Mm.
Part one was a retrospective of Matti's many works, covering antinatalism and a lot of other topics too. Part two was like all different kinds of topics within antinatalism, like asking his opinion on tons and tons and tons of different subjects in the antenatal world.
Mm.
Part three was called Natalist Futures, so asking Matti's opinion of ideas like transhumanism and long-termism and
Mm.
I forget what else. I mean, lots of stuff. And then four was all about extinction, like the deepest, darkest, red buttoniest extinction stuff I could possibly come up with.
Mm.
The first part, some of which ended up growing up into what is now Hankikanto 1, was nearly 80 pages long by the time I was done with it. And you know, if we had done that, it would have likely turned into like a 6 to 8 hour video.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we had produced it as one single video, if I remember correctly, Matti's response to reading it for the first time was to say, "We are producing Wagner's Ring and Tolstoy's War and Peace in one go. We need to think." And so we did. And after thinking about it for a while, we decided the best course of action was to break away from the Exploring Antinatalism podcast
Mm.
and do our own thing. And that's
Mm.
pretty much officially, I think, how Hankikanto emerged. All 3 episodes of Mechanized and all 3 episodes of Hankikanto were written in November of 2022. Some of the best fun I've ever had. But you asked about the animation. So yeah, I mean, that has been sort of the most challenging part for me, just because I kind of, for various reasons, I'd kind of like given up on a lot of 2D art over the
Mm.
last couple of years. I mean, one of the biggest reasons is because I'd hurt my hand. And so it was too hard for me to do sculpture and drawing and all that fun stuff. So I hadn't done animation in like a really significantly long time. So it's been sort of this crazy process of trying to get back into doing those kinds of things, and you know, to some positive effect, to some negative effect. But yeah, it's been great to kind of relearn and relearn skills and do things also for the first time. Like, I have never used Photoshop to do animation. I've never created images on Photoshop before. So
Mm.
I've learned a lot through this process, and it's been
Yeah.
great.
Well, my very technical observation of the process is that we've had a lot of fun. It's such a hoot working with Amanda, as you know, Lawrence. And
Mm.
our particular collaboration has involved a huge amount of interaction and exchanges. We've written back and forth many times a day, thinking about questions and illustrations and animations and what have you. One idea crazier than the other, and going on like that. And it has been fun and work, I guess, but it hasn't felt like work at all. So maybe it's okay. When ideas flow like they've been flowing here, it's just a walk in the park, and of course it helps that Amanda has done most of the work.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, the writing end of it has certainly not felt like work at all. I mean, it's been challenging because I'm keeping up with somebody that's written 600 articles and many books,
Mm.
but it's really been nothing but a great time.
Mm. And so I'm assuming with the sort of split in who did what, was the written part of it, was this sort of, I'm assuming it was sort of basically 50-50, it sort of flowed between you both, and then the sort of visually creative side, has that mostly been Amanda? Have you mostly been doing that?
So what we do is like the way we've been doing it mostly is I come up with the questions and then we go back and forth on a single document, you know,
Mm.
writing stuff, rewriting stuff, adding stuff, commenting, blah, blah, blah. And then, I mean, yes, I have been the one that's doing the animation and stuff, but we collaborate in the sense of like coming up with ideas, and like
Mm.
the idea of me standing on the box of antinatalist t-shirts, like that was
Mm.
all Matti's idea.
Yep.
So he really does, you really do, Matti, have a lot of really great visual ideas. And so that's really helped to inform the visual side of it. So yeah, it's been very much a collaboration on all sides of it.
And actually,
Yeah, well,
sorry, go on, Matti.
yes, as I was saying, she's talking rubbish. She's doing most of the work, and I'm just answering some of her questions sometimes.
So I wanted to ask actually about the I don't know if would you call it a trailer? You know, the small section or the small clip that you released before the actual first episode, and that is animated in a different way than the main the main
The intro?
like the episodes. Yeah, the intro is so did who why did you decide to do the animation differently for that sort of sneak peek trailer? And was that you doing the animation, Amanda, or did you get someone else to do that?
No, it was me. I mean, to be honest, I originally wanted someone else to do it. I had in mind maybe to like Life Sucks would do it, but he was unavailable.
Mm,
So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And yeah, I originally wanted to do the intro in paper cutout, and then I realized I was not able to do the intro in paper cutout. It was just
mm.
too ambitious. So it's whoa, hang on a second. Oh god damn it. So it's mainly hand drawn. I can show you some of the. I probably should have. So this is not the best drawing ever, but it was mainly hand drawn,
Yeah.
and then I brought it all into Photoshop and manipulated it there. I mean, in hindsight, it probably would have made a lot more sense to just do it all in Photoshop, but
Mm.
I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of old fashioned when it comes to 2D art. Like I don't know how to start with the computer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for the most part everything was hand drawn ahead of time and then
Mm.
digitally altered. And yeah, I haven't actually done any of that since my first film in 2008. So it's been a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. And along like the creative process, I'm assuming, you know, when you collaborate, when any two or three or however many people collaborate on something, there's obviously going to be some sort of clashes along the way of not necessarily bad clashes, just you have, you know, slightly different ideas on how things should be done or how it would be better, how the message would be communicated better or something like that, or how the flow would be better. What sort of conflicts have you two had along your sort of path of creating the series?
It's impossible to have conflicts with Amanda. A brilliant, dedicated collaborator like that is hard to find, and I haven't before. Now I have. So I have no conflicts to report.
Mm.
Sorry about that, Lawrence. We are dull like that.
Oh, I wanted all the drama.
Yeah, there really is no drama. We're disappointing in that sense. Yeah, I agreed. I mean, I really can't imagine having any conflict with Matti. He's brilliant, he's kind, and he's patient, and he's needed to be during this
Mm,
process. I mean, we share all the same passion and excitement for this subject and its surrounding subjects. And
mm,
it's so rare to find that in another person. I think we both want the same things, really, which is to create excellent pieces of antinatalist works and to help antinatalism grow and to do the good that we know it can do. So this experience has really been the furthest thing from conflict that I can imagine.
And Lawrence, we tried. We really tried. I mean, we had an inkling of an idea that you would be asking about this, and for a week now we've tried to pick up a fight, and we
Yeah.
just haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, impossible.
yeah. So I watched I wasn't able to watch the first episode live when it was first airing. I caught a bit of it when, you know, live as it was premiering, but I watched it I think either later that day or the day after. Um and there was one bit which sort of like kind of amazed me. It was just it was really interesting, and it was one of those weird things where it was just like it's funny how life works out sometimes. And it was the bit when you were talking about, and I might get some of the details wrong here, but I think Matti had you'd written a paper or an article or something about, I believe, abortion in Finland, or maybe you were commenting on America. I can't remember. And there was a back and forth in a newspaper, and then you went back. I don't know if you went back before or you went back because of researching the series, and you noticed that there was, I believe, a woman who had she'd written into the paper, and the paper had published her response. I think defending the access to abortion, but had made a very antinatalist statement in that. Have I remembered that correctly?
Yes, you did remember that correctly. That's 1986, and my first book has just been published. It has received a glorious review in Finland's biggest newspaper, Helsingin Sanomat, Helsinki News, and then some people wrote letters to the editors commenting on this. Now, this one person who was supporting my permissive views on abortion was actually really doing the misanthropic argument, Amanda, wasn't she? I mean,
Yeah.
she was saying that in this world of famine and poverty and all this, it's not a question of anyone's right to become to existence. It is the right of anyone non-existent to remain non-existent if we cannot guarantee the full rights now. And then it's implied that we cannot guarantee them, and then it becomes a misanthropic antinatalist statement.
But many years before anything, like an antinatalist misanthropic argument was fully formed. So it was really quite a find.
Yeah,
But it sort of happens like that. I mean, there was a lot of talk in last century. Right after the Second World War, it started that the nature is going kaput and everything is going to hell and less people. So there was the population control thing, but there was also always the middle class line of argument that I don't have the right to produce another child into this world. So it wasn't invented yesterday in the Guardian or the New York Times. It's been around for at least half a century.
Yeah, and when did you were you aware of this woman's response at the time, or was this something you discovered, many years later looking back?
Of course, I would have seen it. I mean, I'm a subscriber of the newspaper myself, so I would have read it every day and seen, is there anything about me? Is there anything about me? And then somebody is saying that I'm great. So that kind of thing. But it's weird when you are in it, when you are in the chase yourself at the moment, when your first book is just out, somebody has said some wonderful things about it, some other people say awful or wonderful things about it. It's all a big haze. You don't get into the detail. You just take the nice thing, bad thing, nice thing, bad thing, and you go on like that. So only when Amanda and I started to go through the archives on this one did we really draw attention to this remarkable antinatalist statement.
Yeah, you didn't have those articles saved. I mean, it was something that you found while we were researching, so you'd kind of forgotten about it since then. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was your reaction when you first stumbled across it? Because when this came up in the episode, I was thinking it must have been a bit of a bizarre thing when you were looking back on it to notice, that someone else had said this thing that you're sort of now. I mean, you've been talking about antinatalism for a while, but you've sort of become more connected with the community more recently. But I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, to be honest. But I just found it such a sort of odd turn that now you're creating this antinatalist project, but you discover this thing ages ago that this random woman had written in and said something relatively antinatalist.
Yeah, this would have been weird in during last summer when we were just starting these things with Amanda. But now this is the November Rain thing when we were rainmakers and wrote 6 episodes of this and that and the other. So I was, by that time when I found the archives, I was well aware that holy shit, I've been an antinatalist for 40 years. And so it was in that context, nothing surprised me anymore. It was just, oh, of course, I mean, naturally.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, another piece of the story emerges. Can't be too surprised at this point.
Yeah. And so the first episode is out, and there's 2 more, right? You've got 2. Are they both done, or are you still working on them?
Yeah, so we've written the next 2 episodes. The next 2 episodes are fully written. Both of them are documentaries of sorts, dealing almost entirely with Matti's rock operas, both Playing God and and Orchid. I'm incredibly excited for both of them as I become a rather huge fan of Matti's music. And much like his antinatalist academic work, his music deserves a much wider audience than it currently has. What is he grabbing now? Yeah, there we go. Yay! So I hope these episodes can go a long way in solving that. We haven't started producing 2 yet, although we're very, very, very soon. We have quite a number of other episodes planned. The guts of several of them are already pre-written, basically, although I probably have to go back and do a lot more work on them. If we end up using anything, from what I wrote ages ago for the would-be sequel, so many subjects yet to still be covered. Still so many past works we haven't really scratched the surface of yet of his. Yeah, I expect Hankikanto will keep us busy for a long, long time yet to come.
It just seems to be a cornucopia. I mean, it's there are so many. We can start with the bigger words, but eventually we'll be analyzing is and but and we'll make sense of those in the antinatalist context as well.
Yeah. So because this first one was sort of going over Matti's sort of academic history, I guess, is maybe you would put it.
Some of it.
Some of it. Yeah. And then you were saying the next 2 are going to focus more on the rock operas, which actually, so this was the other thing that I wanted to bring up that I really liked about the first episode, particularly, was at the very end you include a small clip referencing the rock operas, but I think the clip is so short and there's no context around it that I think if someone was not like had not, so for example, I've seen the music video for, it's called Behold Your People, the song, right?
Yes.
And I believe it's got some of the same people.
Are you talking about the 4 women singing something with the home organ?
At the very end, I can't remember who the people are.
Yes, at the very end, and they are singing, "What have we done to deserve this burden?" Boop, boop. Is it that clip?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that was filmed while we were rehearsing for Orchid the Rock Opera's Helsinki premiere in January 2018, and of course for Hankikanto and all that snow, it's really appropriate that it's snowing heavily in the background, and the wonderful singers are singing that wonderful bit, which is also at the end of our intro, isn't it, Amanda?
Yes.
Did we extend it that far? Yes. Absolutely. So we thought that will be our production end logo, and we'll always end everything with that one.
So actually, while we're on the rock operas now, I'm just going to skip forward a question and go into the rock operas. So, with the rock operas, do they happen regularly? Like, can people go and see them now, or is there anywhere online that there's recorded versions of them that if anyone's interested, they can watch it online? or is there an opportunity? I know if they are in person, it's probably just going to be in Finland, so it would only be for people in the sort of general area. But yeah, is there opportunity for people to see them in person as well?
Yes, well, historically they've been performed in Switzerland, France, United States, blah 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 blah, blah Great Britain. I forget. So they both well, playing God has been around. But well, Lawrence, to your question, can people now see them? Well, anytime you or anyone you know happens to have a not so moderately priced SUVs worth of money lying around without better use, Polite Bystander Productions, which is my nano music production company, is happy to bring Playing God or Orchid to you
Mm.
live. Other than that, we are experiencing a slower period with the live performances now. And it is partly because my collaborators on Playing God are still thinking that the good old times of music industry will come back,
Mm.
and they are sitting on a very good performance recording from the 2016 Helsinki Playing God performance, and I can only hope that it will be released soon, because the good old times of music industry will not ever come back,
Mm.
if there ever was such a time. Orchid were only ever performed twice in January 2018, as I said, in Helsinki, and that was all the SUVs I could afford, and then, but this is available. Orchid is available on YouTube, and Orchid is also in Spotify and a zillion other platforms in audio format, wherever CD Baby has put it. But Amanda, am I forgetting something? I know you haven't signed up to be my PR for these things. Do you know what?
I haven't. Yeah, our upcoming episodes.
Well,
Yeah. Our upcoming episodes of Hankikanto on both Playing God and Orchid indicate otherwise. So yes, I will repeat that everyone should subscribe to. Oh, well, I haven't said it yet. It says I. Well, yeah. Everyone should definitely go and subscribe to both of Matti's YouTube channels. One of them in particular will set you up with all of your Orchid needs. As
Mm.
for
I have two.
you have two, yeah.
Right. I'm an absolute mess with YouTube. So I have two channels. Wow! Yay!
I have about six, so hey, nothing wrong with having multiple channels, but they're both named just your name. So yeah, so if you just search Matti's full name, you'll get both
We'll sort
channels.
it out.
Yeah,
We'll have to
No, I
sort
can
it out.
link them.
yeah. Please link them below, and well, yeah, everyone go subscribe. I don't think Matti has 100 subscribers on either channels yet, so let's fix that, people. Let's go
Mm.
subscribe for sure. So yeah, so the one channel will set you up with all of your Orchid needs. As for Playing God, Lawrence, perhaps you can link this below. If you go to the Polite Bystanders production YouTube channel, there is a couple of clips of Playing God, and there's a really good 19-minute version of the show. And
Mm.
I highly recommend, and you can see Matti as Mr. Cunningham in that. And so I highly recommend people go and watch that. I also highly recommend people go and find, both of the CDs. And they're both masterpieces. And keep an eye out, obviously, for Hankikanto 2 and 3, which will together, again, cover both operas, and you'll be able to hear and see, all kinds of stuff from both shows, as well as a lot of other, rare pieces of Matti's music throughout the years. So look forward to that. Yeah.
Mm. And just quickly off the back of something you said, Matti, you were talking about the good old days of the music industry. Is that you referring to pre-pandemic? Was it the pandemic that sort of you think killed things off, and it's never going to recover from that?
No, I'm referring to the golden age that never was. I mean, people always think that 2 or 3 years ago there was a better time. In this case, it is the pre-pandemic time. Before that, it was the the time when people still had CDs, like Amanda seems to have, very old-fashioned, by the way, and so on and so forth. Before that, it was when you what did you have? Mini discs for a while.
Mm.
Before that, you have the I something. Before that, you had the CD invention. People were lamenting the demise of the vinyl.
Mm.
I mean 2 years ago it was better, and that time will return, and it will make us rich and famous.
Yeah. Okay, I get what. So, sort of reminiscent, sort of sentimentality, sort of thing. Yeah. I get what you
Yes,
mean.
and for that they are sitting on a perfectly good hour and a half, wonderful performance of playing God, which would make millions of people happy.
Mm. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. Um, so if people want to keep up to date with either of you individually or Hankikanto, where can they go to do that? Obviously, so when the second and third episodes come out, I will then come back to this video and link them below so that as they come out, people have all of them. If they see this, interview, a white like in a sometime in the future, when the others have come out. But yeah, where can people keep up to date with both of you individually and with the show?
I have two answers to that one. The first one is that if you want to know my daily jogging routes every day, then my Facebook account will be the place for that. And two, since you don't need that information, Amanda will probably know better where to find me.
Well, they can also follow you on Twitter. And in hopefully the near future, we're going to be putting together like some kind of reference guide that will make it easier for people to find and read as many of Matti's academic radio, TV,
Mm,
podcast works and appearances as possible. And that will be on the exploringantinatalism.com website. We're a ways off from that,
yeah.
but that's something that I am working on. Other than that, you should, as I said before, you should absolutely go and subscribe to both of Matti's YouTube channels. That's a great way of keeping up with Matti's music as well. There's also some lectures on there and some other types of videos as well. Yeah, again, neither of them have their first 100 subscribers, so let's fix that. Come on, people. As for me, I'm mainly active on the Exploring Antinatalism podcast YouTube channel these days, and there will, of course, that is where you, of course, can find the Exploring Antinatalism podcast, which has gone down to once a month now, by the way, after 4 years, thank God, as well as both Mechanized and Hankikanto. I would like, if possible, to try to revive the Antenatal News podcast soon. Lawrence here, incidentally, is the ex-co-host of the second iteration of the Antenatal News podcast. And I will soon be making an effort to revive the Twitter iteration of Antenatal News as well, so you might want to join up on that Twitter. I have several other YouTube channels, all of which I've done absolutely nothing with in months. But subscribe if you feel like it. There's Antinatal Wolf as well as the Antinatalism International YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff on both. Both will probably be restarted at some point. Antinatalism International is on a bit of a hiatus at the minute, I'm afraid. But I would like to start things back up with that soon, so you can visit the website. There really is a lot of great stuff on the website. All the reference guides and whatnot are out of date, but still still a really good place to find a lot
Yeah,
of
a lot of
information about
information.
antinatalism. Only other thing is that if you want to see some of my older videos that were deleted off of YouTube when they killed my Forever Wolf Films account, I do have an account on Vimeo, and I'm slowly uploading all of my old stuff over there. So if you want to check out some of my old classics, you can check that out. And yeah, there's some okay stuff on there.
Okay, nice. Well, what I'll do is I'll go back through this and take a note of everything you guys have referenced, and then I'll, either find the links myself or get them from you and include them all in the description. But I'm glad the Antenatal News Twitter is going to be popping off again soon, hopefully, because
yeah, it's been far too long.
Yeah, I follow it and noticed that it hasn't been as active recently. So
I've
I'm
just been reporting on Matti's newest papers and stuff for a while, and the podcasts and whatnot. So yeah, it's it's a project that I kind of need a break from every now and again.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, and you work on so much that it's like, I mean, like sometimes it's just not physically possible to be able to keep, it. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you either do many things but not that well, or you focus on a few things but you get them done to a
Yeah.
decent standard, and it's you can't. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
get what you mean.
It is a project that takes up a lot. I mean, it's one of my favorite projects ever, but it is a project that takes up a lot of time. So
Mm-mm.
Laura, for that distinction that you just made, Amanda has the third solution, which is do everything and perfectly.
yeah, well, whatever. But thank you, I appreciate that. Well, I've learned a lot of from you about time management and yeah, keeping up on you. You work on so many things at once, so yeah, I've learned a lot from you in that regard, Matti.
Cool. So, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think would be good to include about Hankikanto that I haven't asked a question about?
Not that I can think of.
Cool, nice.
Well,
Go
there
on.
is one thing is that you were excellent as the voice of British Matti in the show. So thank you again for being our guest voice. You did a wonderful job.
No, that's all good. Actually, do you want to shout out the other guest
Yeah.
voices or guest actors, or however you refer to them, guest voices?
Yeah, sure. So George Martin, also known as Carnism Debunked, was the voice of Godwin and did a wonderful job.
Yeah,
In
very
this,
posh.
yeah, he did a great job. And then
Yeah.
Verena Brunschweiger was the voice of the lady from the Helsinki News article, and she also did a wonderful job. And I think that is it as far as the people that helped contribute.
Yeah, no, it was actually really funny because what I did was I was sort of like I don't know if other people do this, but often what I will do is because I actually take quite a while to get to sleep often. Usually what I do is I sort of I sort of like just get into bed and like fully relax, but still have something on to listen to. So I'm otherwise relaxed, but listening to something. And I was listening to the Hankikanto, but I also had it on, and I would like watch it as well. And I was sort of like, I was like very relaxed, and I was very used to like your and Matti's voice being on the video, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere I hear George Martin's voice doing a really posh accent. I was like, what the fuck? It just took me completely out of it was just completely out of the blue, because I think if it had just been his voice, I would have just been like, oh yeah, Amanda did say a while ago that George is doing one of the, but it was because he put on this posh accent which I've never heard him do before.
Yeah.
It was just I was like, what the hell's going on? But no, it was good.
We'll have to do more. We'll have to do more of that. I mean, more of these interruptions when my brother or my father can be blood, whatever. And there you go. So just to wake them up, Amanda. I mean,
Yeah,
wake them up.
I think we do have more.
No relaxation there, Lawrence. No, not on all.
And you were up for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do have more back and forth dialogue pieces in upcoming episodes. I'm not sure because I haven't read them since November. So yeah, but I think more like that will. I'd love to have to have George back on if he's willing. And you.
Yeah. And another quick question, which I forgot to ask, is: are there dates for when the next two episodes are going to be scheduled to come out, or is it to be confirmed?
So the Hankikanto will be the next two episodes of Hankikanto will be released on the 15th of the next two upcoming months. So April 15th
Cool. Yep.
and May 15th, and then presumably we'll be going back to mechanized. And then so 3 episodes. We've kind of been doing like 3 episodes of mechanized, 3 episodes of Hankikanto, but yeah, it's I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. No worries, but yeah, people have got those to look forward to anyway, and I think, did you say so this first one was 1 hour 40 minutes, give or take. What are we expecting for the next two? Do you know how long they're going to be? Are they going to be absolute fucking tanks?
Matti, do you want to tell him?
The next one may be a little shorter, and the third one will be out of the courtyard.
Yeah, the third one is really, really, really long.
Okay.
The third
Do
one
you
is
just
just
you just
about
want to
the
leave it
length.
like that?
The third one is just maybe even longer than that initial first part 1 document that I talked about earlier when I had created that like 4-part series. You know, the War and Peace and Wagner's the Ring Cycle
Yes, but
all at once.
don't
But it's gonna be great.
but don't worry about it. There will be music also. So this time you will get your relaxation. You can have your naps.
Yeah. You're gonna go back and write in a piece for George Martin, aren't you? Just so it shakes me up again.
Just to wake you up, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Just to wake you up specifically.
Yeah. It's just gonna be both of your voices, and then you're just gonna have George going bang at one point, random in the episode.
How did you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well,
I have made a note.
So, yeah, that was all my questions. I think we've covered everything, and now, like right when we finish, the sun decides to nail me right in the eye. That'll teach me to not having like a professional lighting setup. Cool. Yeah. So that's all the questions. I think I really enjoyed the first episode, so I think people are going to be like really interested to listen to this interview to get like a bit more of like a behind the scenes sort of feel for, you know, how it was created, what went on, the thought process, stuff like that. And yeah, I will link everything in the description. So if there's anything that has been referenced in the episode, and for the people watching, just look in the description. It will more than likely be linked down there. And if it isn't, just leave a comment and I will find the link and then add it. But thanks both so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Lawrence. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on, Lawrence. This has been great.